Welcome and thanks for standing by. At this time, all participants are in a listen-only mode for the duration of today's webinar. Today's webinar is being recorded. If you have any objections, you may disconnect at this time. Now I'd like to turn the call over to your host from the U.S. Census Bureau, Mayumi. Mayumi, you may begin.
Thank you, Anthony. Good afternoon, everyone. As Anthony stated, my name is Mayumi Brewster. I'm a survey statistician within the Economic Management Division. I am joined by my colleague, Linda Lee. We would like to welcome everyone to the kickoff of the Exploring Census Data webinar series, where we present data available from the U.S. Census Bureau on various topics. Today, we will provide a comprehensive overview of Census Bureau's business programs. You'll learn about business data available to you to assist you with your research and making informed business decisions. So, if you all are ready, let's go ahead and jump into the presentation. All right, next slide.
Sorry, it's not advancing. Hold on.
All right. So, a brief background about the Exploring Census Data webinar series. It is a series of monthly webinars presented by topics with real life use cases. The webinars are presented by subject matter experts, and you will have the opportunity to connect with our presenters, such as ourselves, using the Q&A feature exclusively. We will address questions within the Q&A feature during and after the presentation. However, with respect to time, if your question goes unanswered, we will provide our contact information for your convenience. Also note, this presentation is recorded and will be posted on our Census Academy website. So this series has been around for many years, and we have recordings of past webinars there as well. The first link on this slide will lead you directly to our archive recordings. Today's recordings, slides, and transcripts will be available here within a few weeks, so don't forget to check back in. If you'd like to learn more about our trainings, please use the second link to the Census Academy's main webpage. And as a quick note, should you experience any technical delays during our session, please utilize the Q&A feature as well to let us know of any issues, and we will mitigate them as soon as possible. Next slide. All right. So on today's agenda, I will start off with a brief section about the U.S. Census Bureau, then pass it off to Linda to discuss some key economic surveys and programs, such as the County Business Patterns, Non-Employer Statistics, Annual Business Survey, and our Economic Census, just to name a few. Next, Linda will provide demonstrations of data tools such as data.census.gov and a cool interactive data visualization. Additionally, we will provide vital resources and close out with our Q&A session. Next slide. All right, so now let's provide a bit of a background on the U.S. Census Bureau. Of the 13 statistical agencies, the Census Bureau is the federal government's largest, where we conduct over 130 surveys annually, with our well-known ones that I have listed here on the slide. First on this list, many people recognize the decennial census. This is conducted every 10 years, and this is where we count the population in housing. Next is the American Community Survey, also referred to as the ACS. This is the yearly survey on the nation's population. Now, shifting to the business data side, we have the economic census that measures American businesses and is conducted every 5 years for years ending in 2 and 7. And lastly, the economic census has a public sector's counterpart called the Census of Governments, also known as COG. This is the official 5-year measure of the nation's state and local government sector. Here are a few examples of our widely used monthly, quarterly, and annual economic surveys. The monthly surveys are part of the economic indicators that are included in reporting the gross domestic product. Monthly and quarterly surveys can provide data on topics such as business profits and formations, consumer spending, inventories, manufacturing, construction, and housing and international trade. Additionally, we have 20 annual surveys, which include nearly every sector of the economy. When it comes to our data, a pyramid is the best illustration of the relationship between details and timeliness. We primarily conduct monthly, quarterly, and annual surveys. However, we now produce high frequency data as well. As you can see at the top of the pyramid are high frequency programs where data are released on a biweekly basis with less details available. Now, as you move down a level to our monthly and quarterly surveys, these are timely surveys that include the nation's key economic indicators. And as mentioned previously, they are used for tracking and reporting the gross domestic product. Sliding down another level to the annual surveys, these are surveys that provide data for nearly every sector of the economy. Data from these programs are useful for analyzing trends. Next, we have our censuses that take place every 5 years. These include our economic census and our census of governments. The economic census is our most comprehensive data source for business data. And finally, at the base of the pyramid, our administrative data that serves as the foundation for our statistics. So when you use our data, there are some key terms and items that are helpful to know. First is the North American Industry Classification System, also referred to as NAICS. The NAICS is a classification system that we use that groups U.S. establishments into industries based on the business activities in which they are primarily engaged. Each physical business location is assigned to its own 6-digit NAICS code based on the primary business activities at that location. NAICS is commonly used among the United States, Canadian, and Mexican statistical agencies and is updated every 5 years. Next is the term establishments as opposed to company or firm. Establishments focus on individual business locations or facilities, distinct from broader entities like companies or firms. Moreover, we collect data from both employer and non employer establishments. Some programs only cover employer businesses, which others cover both. Employers are businesses that have at least one paid employee, while non-employer businesses have no paid employees or self-employed individuals without employees. Finally, we are bound by Title 13 and 26 to uphold and protect business privacy and confidentiality. So we ensure sensitive data is not disclosed. As a result, we can provide high quality data because respondents will more likely provide information knowing that their privacy will be protected by the U.S. Code Titles 13 and 26. Now, to pass it to my colleague, Linda Lee, where she will discuss key economic surveys and programs. Linda, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayumi. So good afternoon, everyone. In the next section, I'm going to take you on a tour of some of our key economic surveys and programs. Then I'm going to do a brief demo on how to access the data on our primary data dissemination platform. And I'll also show you where you can find additional resources on our website. So let's go ahead and dive right in. So we've seen how often data are released and the level of details that may be available. Now let's take a look at the types of data that can be found. As Mayumi mentioned, the Census Bureau conducts over 130 surveys each year, and over 50 of these are business surveys and programs. And listed along the right side of the slide here are some of the ones that are widely used by many of our data users. Now, first on the list is the County Business Patterns, or commonly referred to by its acronym, the CBP. The CBP is a program that uses administrative records to publish data annually. It can provide statistics about employer businesses at the county level. Now, next on the list is the counterpart to the CBP, called the non-employer statistics, or also referred to as the NES. The NES can provide measures of businesses with no employees. So typically, these are self-employed individuals. And the use of both the CBP and the NES can provide a complete picture of the business landscape because each program captures different types of businesses. Now, next on the list here is the annual business survey. Now, similar to the CBP, the ABS covers employer businesses. And what's unique about the ABS is that it has a demographic component where you can find information about the business owner. And finally, we have the economic census. This is the most comprehensive source for business data. And as Mayumi has mentioned, it is conducted every 5 years in the years ending in 2 and 7. Now, before we move along to the next slide, you'll notice the infographic on the left side here. This infographic is available for free on our site, census.gov. When you have a moment, I highly suggest checking out the infographics and visualization page. We have both static and interactive ones available. So please feel free to use our data products for your own needs. So now that we've seen high-level descriptions, let's look at finer details of each of these programs. So what is the county business patterns? The CBP is a program that covers employer businesses. These would be establishments that report at least one or more employees. It is published annually with the latest data from the calendar year 2022. And the 2023 data is coming out in a few months in June. And listed here are several key statistics available from the program: the number of establishments, employment, annual payroll for nearly every 2 through 6 digit level NAICS code. And data are published at the national, state, metro, county, congressional district, and even the zip code level. Now, one of the greatest appeal about this program is what I call the CBP trifecta. So one, new data is available every year. Okay, so yes, we do have annual surveys, and there's nothing unique about a yearly publication, right? Okay, so 2, the data are available at the 6-digit NAICS code. So you'll recall from that pyramid slide that the more frequent the publication, the less level details are available. And finally, 3, the lowest level geography level. And this is one of the greatest appeals about this program. You'll be able to get up to 6-digit level NAICS code at the county or zip code level every year. And oh, there's more. The program also covers 5 US territories. So other things, statistics are available at the employment size of the establishments and also by the legal form of organization. And to learn more, please use this link here that will lead you right to the program's main page. So what is the non-employer statistics? This program covers businesses with no employees. Now, we often recommend to our data users that when using the CBP to look at the NES as well, because looking at both employer and non-employer businesses paints a complete picture of the economic landscape. And here's a fun fact: there are actually more businesses with no employees in most industries. So if anyone had been looking to open a business or to analyze the number of competitors, this would be important to know in order to make a well-informed business decision. So the latest data available for the NES is 2022, and the data was released toward the end of last year in December. Statistics include the number of firms and revenue for most 2 through 6 digit NAICS code. And geographic coverage is like the CBP, with the exception of the zip code level. Also, the NES does not include the 5 US territories. And you'll be able to find revenue by the size of the firm and also by legal form of organization. And again, the link here will take you to find more information on the program. The next program is the Annual Business Survey, also referred to as the ABS, covers employer businesses. It is published on an annual basis with the latest data for the calendar year 2023. And about 2 months ago in February, the 2024 first look data had been released. And this product provides a high-level preview of what you'll be able to find in greater details when the full data set is published. And the type of data that you can find available at the 2 through 4 digit NAICS code include the firm count, employment size, annual payroll, sales and receipt by race, ethnicity, veteran status, and sex. And there are also other owner characteristics that change every year. These are modules. And these modules are based on what's relevant in the economy at the time. So they rotate from year to year. So for example, questions about research and development could be included in 1 year. And the next year, there could be questions about domestic and foreign transactions. For geographic coverage, it is available at the national, state, and MSA level. And data is available at the 2 through 4 digit NAICS code. At the county and place, you'll be able to find 2 through 6 level of details. And this program does not cover the 5 US territory. So I highly suggest that when you have a moment to visit the program's main page using this link here, because there's a lot of interesting data that you can find there. Some type of information that you'll be able to find are the level of operation during the COVID-19 pandemic, the type of customers, reasons for businesses ceasing operation, and factors that affect working from home, the age of the owner, and much, much more. Let's move along to the next slide. So this one wasn't listed earlier, but it is the counterpart of the ABS. So just like the CBP has the NES counterpart, the ABS has a non-employer counterpart called the Non-Employer Statistics by Demographics, also called the NESD. Now, this program measures business and business owner demographics for non-employer businesses. So when combined with the ABS, you'll be able to get a complete picture of statistics about businesses by the owner's demographics characteristics. Now, the NESD is published annually with the latest data for the calendar year 2021. The 2021 data was released last August. So stay tuned for the release of 2022 in upcoming months. And I believe it is going to be in May. Statistics from this program includes a number of non-employer firms and revenue. And data are available at the national, state, metro, and county levels. Just like the ABS, the NAICS level vary depending on the geography level. And this is good to know so that you're not frustrated looking for data that isn't available at that level. So at the national and state level, you'll be able to get the full NAICS level. Whereas at the county and place level, it's just at the 2-digit NAICS code. And the And the NAICS does not cover the 5 US territories. And again, the link will lead you to the program's main page. Okay, so finally, the economic census. As we've heard from Mayumi's slide with the pyramid, it is conducted every 5 years in the years ending in 2 and 7. It is the most comprehensive source for business data. And it's also the survey that we use to benchmark all of our other business surveys. Now, new this year is the complete release of the geographic area statistics that we refer to as the GAS. The GAS is a series of statistics that has details at the lower level of geography and NAICS. And for those of you that have been following the economic census over the years, the past release of the GAS had been by groups of states. So for the 2022 release, all the data had been published in a single release. And here are some highlights from the GAS. At the national level, 8 million employer establishment generated 50.5 trillion in sales, employing 136.6 million people with 8.5 trillion in annual payroll in the US. And diving into the state level, we can see that in Michigan had a little over 36,000 employees in the motor vehicle manufacturing, followed by California and Kentucky. So of course, because it is the most comprehensive source, you'll be able to dive even deeper geographically and down to the lowest NAICS level as well. And this is just a quick example of how you can keep drilling further and further when using the economic census. So right about now, some of you may be wondering, well, how is this different from the CBP that we've just seen earlier? Well, the economic census has many more data dimensions. The CBP has data that revolves around the number of establishment, employment, and payroll. The economic census has additional variables that can be sector specific as well. So all in all, about over 200 plus variables. And of course, as always, the results are online and available to you for free. Now this slide shows the release schedule of the different economic census disseminations. So in January of last year, the first look statistics were released, giving the public a high level view of upcoming data releases. Then throughout the summer and at the end of the year in December, the island area statistics were released. Now during the same month, we also released the geographic area statistics. And most recently, we had released the Bridge and Comparative series where you can compare NAICS code that have changed since the last collection period in 2017. Now, these are important to review as new codes could have been added. And these could be industries that have expanded in the economy, or the opposite, where codes could have been condensed because the industry had become outdated or no longer efficient. So reviewing the codes will help ensure that you are comparing apples to apples from year to year. Now, going back to this table, you'll notice that there are more data products coming out this summer and fall time, with data publishing well into spring of next year. And before we move along to the next slide, you'll find this table on census.gov under the economic census main page. The table on our site gives you the ability to expand all the series that you see in that first column so that you can see what has already been published and what is coming. And I believe you can access the tables from there as well. So earlier I had mentioned that the Census Bureau conduct over 130 surveys and programs, and included in this figure are 3 censuses that we conduct. And we've already seen the decennial and the economic census. The third census is the census of governments. And this is the public sector's counterpart of the economic census. So the public sector data comes from 5 surveys that provide statistics at the state and local government levels. However, unlike the economic census, the response is voluntary. And the type of information that you can find are organization and structure of governments, government employment, and government finances. And some examples of the data can be seen in the illustrations here on the slide. The map up top shows the largest tax by state, and the lower image shows statistics by employment. Now, statistics from the public sector is in our everyday lives. We've had data users share stories about using this data to determine where to live and also where to start a business. I'll give you some example of some of the data that you can look up. So you can look up how much local government pay for police protection, or you can also find out how much a city spends on roads and so on and so on. And finally, you can get the data in various formats on Excel files and from different data tools and interactive visualizations as well. So we have the Annual Integrated Economic Survey, or the AIES. I'm actually personally very excited about this survey, and I'll show you why. The undertaking is a real win-win for everyone. Let's take a look. Oops. All right, that's all right. So starting off with the background, the idea of the AIES began when the National Academy of Sciences studied our annual economic surveys and found that several can be consolidated for several reasons. And the reasons are to produce a timely and standardized product, to improve efficiency, because many of our surveys had asked similar questions in different ways. So having consistency on the same content helps, and to stay relevant, and also to help with declining budget and response rates. So here are the 7 surveys that had been consolidated into the AIES. They are the Service Annual Survey, the Annual Retail Trade Survey, the Annual Wholesale Trade Survey, the Annual Capital Expenditure Survey, the Annual Survey of Manufacturers, the Report of Organization, and the Manufacturer's Unfilled Order. So what's great about this list is that you'll notice that it encapsulates many sectors of the economy: the services, retail, wholesale, manufacturer. And it's good to know this list if you had been using data from one or more of these surveys in the past. You'll know to go directly to the AIES for new data. And also, if you happen to be a respondent, you'll know that the AIES has replaced the surveys that you have been completing every year. And here's the win-win situation that I had mentioned earlier. So external to the agency, it's the reduction of burden to respondents, and data users can also get timely and accurate and relevant statistics. Now, internal to the agency, our processes align and the work is more efficient. This slide shows you some key dates and lets you know when you'll be able to see the first release of the data. So we had the initial mail out back in March 2024, and the survey was due the next month in April, and it closed out for processing in October. The first release of the data is going to be this summer in July of 2025. And if you're interested in learning and seeing more of this data in action, I've got really great news for you. Our final webinar for the year in the series is dedicated to the AIES. You'll be able to see the data from the first release in July, and the webinar will be on September 18th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. So go ahead and mark your calendar now for the webinar on the AIES. All right, so we've talked about and seen the types of data that you can get from several programs. Now let's pivot a little and take a look at how you can access the data, because that's important too. We have many data tools and interactive visualizations. And for a full list, I've included links down here in the footer area that will take you to the page. And now I'm going to hop off and do a demo of several ways to access our data and show you some resources. All right, so our primary data dissemination platform is data.census.gov. So if you type in data.census.gov, this is the landing page. And on this page, there are many things that you can do. It starts off with a search box where you can type in tables, ID numbers, and things like that. And if you scroll down the page, you can find tables, you can build maps. And I'm going to come all the way down here where you can see that you can access the microdata. And at the same time, show you that we also have recordings on how to get started. So never fear if you miss some steps that I'm going to show here today. There are resources available for you to get started. So one of the best ways that I always recommend our data users to do a search is to do the advanced search. And there are many different ways to do this advanced search. And one of the ways that the way that I'm showing you today isn't the only way to do it. So when you hit advanced search, it's going to come up with a column that where you can filter for different things. You can filter for geography, by topics, by surveys, and by years, and by the different codes. Now, for the purpose of today's demonstration, I'm going to go ahead and look at programs that we have already seen today. So I'm going to filter by geography, state, and I'm picking Alabama because it's first. Okay, and as you see, once you pick the filter, it appears in this area, so you know that it's in your filter, or it's been selected, I should say. We're skipping topics. We're going to go down to surveys. And if you look at economic surveys, anytime you hit the blue arrow, it's going to expand for more selection. And here, you can expand to business patterns, select the county business patterns, and it appears here. And we want to select one more thing. Specifically, we would like to look at some NAICS code. Okay, so I'll expand it here. And I'm looking to, let's look at manufacturing. Okay, I'm picking food manufacturing because again, it's the first one on the list there. And as you can see, the more digits there are, the more granular the details are, because this 311 is food manufacturing, and then an additional digit there, 3111, animal food manufacturing, and then expanded once more, animal food manufacturing. And you can, it even goes down to the level of details where you can see dog and cat food manufacturing or other animal food manufacturing. For this demonstration, we're going to stay at the 5-digit NAICS code, animal food manufacturing. So now we have in our filters, Alabama, county business patterns, and animal food manufacturing. We are happy with that, so we're going to go ahead and select search. Now, when you do that, it's going to come up with a page where you see data search results in table formats. And let me just scroll down for you to see here. These are by years. So that's 2021, that's 2022 data. And you can see the profile for the industry as well. So to open these tables, you click on the blue table ID number. And then let's shrink this by hitting the 2 arrows there. You see here that in Alabama, animal food manufacturing for all establishments, the number of establishments is 30. You can see annual payroll, first quarter payroll, and number of employees. Now, I'm going to let you know that one of the most frequently asked questions about this survey is, how come the details do not sum up to the total? As you'll notice here that 3 plus 7 plus 9 plus 6 does not total to 30. So the answer to that is that we have to operate we have to suppress certain data. So the details, some of these details are suppressed to protect the privacy of our respondents. And although the details are suppressed, it's still included in the total. And that's the reason why, if you notice that the details do not add up to the total. All right, let me go ahead and repeat this because I want to drive home a point where we're talking about county business patterns and non-employer statistics. Let's redo this again, advanced search. This time we're going to do it for non-employer statistics. Alabama, we're going to pick the exact same thing. Alabama, oops, let me go down here to surveys, economic surveys.
All right, we got Linda, you can go ahead now.
Hi again, everyone. Apologies about the technical issues happening on our end. So I lost audio and now my computer has shut down. So I am unable to complete or finish up the demo. However, please feel free to use the contact information on the last slide that will be posted. And I would be happy to run through the demo with you personally. If you have questions, please feel free to send information to that email address and I'll call that number. And I want to thank you everyone for your interest in today's webinar. And thank you for your kind patience. I hope to see you again real soon. And I'm going to hand it right back to my colleague, Mayumi. Thanks again. Have a great day.
Thank you, Linda. And I do thank you all for your patience. You know, technology is one of those things you can't live without or with sometimes. So I do want to thank Linda for pushing through all of that. I know that's pretty tough. So thank you, Linda, she did present on a wide range of data. We didn't get through all of our data tools available, but do know the Census Bureau has a ton of information that can assist U.S. businesses as well as the average data user. So we do highly encourage that you check out our website and discover all data and programs that we have to offer. This webinar was just a prelude. So I believe I got to some of you all's questions in the Q&A. If I did not get to your question, I have put our contact information on the slide. This is the branch that Linda and I are both in, the data user and trade outreach branch. This is our contact number. Our email address is ewd.outreach@census.gov. So please feel free to reach out to our branch, and Linda, myself, or someone from our team will assist. So again, we thank you guys for your patience and also the questions that we did receive in the Q&A. Thank you again and have a nice afternoon.
All right, that concludes today's webinar. You may disconnect at this time. Have a great afternoon.